to the first introduction I ever did to a video. Today is going to be a little tutorial on how to create a tote bag. The one I am holding, I just dropped it. The one I'm holding right here, to be precise. I'm really good at this introduction thing. I based my pattern on a tote bag I already had, and I decided to add scallops and make it more 3D by adding side panels and doing a fancy painting on the back. And you'll hear all about it. This is actually the first thing I created with the sewing machine I got on my birthday last November, which I was really excited about. Sadly, uni hasn't allowed me to sew a lot yet, but maybe if you guys liked it, I can try some more videos about it. I made this shirt myself at some point, so yeah, just let me know and let's start the tutorial. Sorry if this intro is lengthy, I am not used to doing intros. Hello and welcome to my first ever voiceover. I thought it would be fit as this is kind of a how-to video, so a tutorial. And first off, I'm sketching up a design for what I finally want to have on my tote bag, and here you can see it. It's a crescent moon, very fancy. Then you go on to measuring the fabric you need. I used about a yard of fabric, I think, though I do not know the term yard very well, but I've seen people make bigger bags with it, so it should all be fine. These are all the pieces you need, so it's only 5 pieces, which isn't too intimidating. These are the dimensions I used for my parts that I cut out. However, you can always decide to make your bag bigger or smaller depending on your needs for your bag. However, I do recommend the side flaps because they just make the bag bigger and have more volume inside. So as I mentioned before, I wanted these extra flaps on the side to give some more volume, otherwise the bag would just be like a big envelope and that's not ideal. So first you attach the side flaps to the main flap, assuring that the middle of the side flap is aligned with the middle of your bigger rectangle. You just pin it together and then you just roll it through the sewing machine. The middle of the bag will sag a bit. You can choose to sew that in a different part as well and perhaps use some stiffener or some cardboard in the bottom. However, I like tote bags to be loose and chose not to do this. So after doing that, you basically have a bucket of a bag, which isn't really a bag. At this point, you turn it inside out, be sure to get all the corners properly, and it's starting to look like a bag. Then I realized I actually wanted to scallop my bag, and I didn't know how I would have to do this. Alright, so for the scallops, I first measured the width of my bag, of course that goes ×2, and then I looked for an object that had a diameter that was a number that the length of my bag could easily be divided by. So it turns out my bag was about 50 centimeters, so that would be like around a meter, and I would have to find something that would work well with that size, and I made a mold out of paper for that. Be sure you fold your fabric outwards. For this process, just draw all the scallops on. You have to be a little bit precise with this. However, it doesn't matter if your corners aren't perfectly sharp, because those are really difficult to get sharp. I ended up ripping a bit of my fabric to get them as sharp as I liked, and then I just stitched over top to make that less of a hazard, and I also used some nail polish to discourage fringing. As you can see, you cut all of those parts out, and later that will allow you to fold the fabric right side out again, and then it should look beautiful. However, it didn't for me in the beginning, which is why I ripped some of my fabric. Fashion before function. So this is the part where you push the right side out again, and I ripped a part of mine for it to have the perfect edge. if this happens to you and you have a sturdy, thick fabric, you can just use some super glue or nail polish to stop it from fringing, and if you sew over top like I'm doing here, it just gives a nice clean edge anyways. Also, don't add scallops if you want it to be an easy DIY, because the scallops are definitely the only intricate thing about this sewing project, and perhaps the painting later on. For the last sewing bit of the bag, you have the straps and you pin the loose sides together, and you have the bad side of the fabric to the outside. Okay, so you just sew those together and then you have to turn them inside out. I recommend you use tools for this. For example, have some weird construction with a sewing needle, like a thick sewing needle and a paper clip. I used a pen to push it through because I wasn't smart enough, and it was still a hassle. Then you are left with two really nice tubes, and those tubes will be your straps, and you can put them on the bag using a cross stitch to ensure their strength. Not a cross stitch is embroidery, but I crossed my stitches and it worked. So now we've gotten to the last part of the bag, for me at least, which was painting it. I really liked my fabric, but I felt like it was a bit boring overall, so I decided to paint on it. I'm doing this with acrylic paint, and I do not recommend this fully because currently there are already some cracks in the painting on my bag. But as I decided to go with Crescent Moon, I started painting the moon, some clouds, I added stars. I also used some Posca pens, as you can see here, as those are basically paint markers. They didn't like it, and as I just got them for my birthday, I was a little bit upset because this was not what I wanted for them. But overall, I kind of like the outcome of my painting on the bag, and I'm really happy with my bag overall. I hope you liked this tutorial, managed to follow it, because this is only my second tutorial ever, and people wanted me to do a tutorial, so here you go. And then in a second you'll see the final result. Thanks for watching, hope to see you next time, and farewell.